Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Friday, the 27th of November, 2020. I'm your host, the amazing Super Chris. Thank you for joining us on this ungodly hour. We're not actually doing a stream today. I'm going to run a pre-recorded show, one from back before we started streaming to Andy Nokasuchi's channel. So if you guys have been watching this, it should be new to you. We're just taking the day off, a couple days off. Thought we'd enjoy it. I'm going to hang out with the wife because, I'd rather, it's just fun. We're going to take a couple days. Take care, and we will see you Monday. You have a great weekend.
Life is complicated. These are trying times. There are many questions that need answering. Want to know what's going to help? Atheism. With atheism, you'll get rid of dogma, superstitions, and toxic thought patterns that are holding you back. You can drive while taking atheism, as well as use heavy machinery. In fact, drinking alcohol, fornicating, and Sunday mornings are far more enjoyable with atheism. However, there are side effects. Some evangelicals and fundamentalists will think you are possessed by the devil. But you don't have to worry, because you know the devil isn't real. Just like God. Wake up to your life. Believe in yourself. Believe in science. Atheism.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Friday, the 4th of September, 2020. I am your host, the amazing Super Chris. Today's going to be a fun day. It's Friday. We're gonna pick on a Christian misogynistic jerk, because who doesn't enjoy do something like that? I mean, it's just a hoot. I've got my co-host today, Andy Hall from the Laughing in Disbelief blog over at Patheos, and Nokasuchi. The Rage is going to join me here in just a minute. We're going to do the thing. Are you feeling the world is leaving you behind? Do you look at all the pseudoscience, rumors, and wild speculation on the internet and wonder, why can't I do that? Well, friend, you can. We can help you. We are Conspirowin. You may be thinking, but my idea of the center of the earth being made of ice is far-fetched. In a world where people believe windmills cause cancer, we say no dream is too big. Listen to the voices no one else can hear. Team up with Conspirowin. Hey, we made it to Friday. Are you guys I'm so excited we made it to Friday. I've got my co-host. I can't talk this morning. Andy Hall is joining me this morning. Good morning, Andy. How are you doing?
If you can't spit out co-host, just refer to me as a parasite.
Only whenever me and the wife are talking. That's just me and wife talk.
Very good. Glad to hear it.
We've also got my Friday co-host, Nokasuchi. The Rage is actually he's agreed to join me on Fridays for the now as a co-host. Good morning, The Rage. How are you doing?
Hey, pretty good. I'm waking up. I got my Java, so I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Awesome. I'm doing good too. Installing Java as well.
Yeah.
I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat, the damnation. Hello, everybody. It's nice to have you with us. Derek Cruz. Hey, Derek snuck in. I didn't see you sneak in. Good morning. Brainbug, Cindy Plaza, KCA Atheist, Randy, KC Atheist. Good morning, Randy. How you doing? Lots of wonderful people. Of course, hugs to Trina DeLuca. I hope you're doing great. I hope you all are had a wonderful week and are ready for the weekend. Also want to say hello to everybody watching on Facebook. You guys are wonderful. We get lots of Facebook groups and pages that we stream to. So a lot of folk over there watching on YouTube. And of course, the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast, listening live over there. Yes, I did actually start it today. So good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I've got something interesting I'd like to talk with you about today. I've got Nokasuchi and Andy Hall with me. I'm going to run a little video. I'm going to pop something up and we're going to watch it here. In case you're not familiar with this, my wife told me about it the night before last, and then Andy Hall sent me a link yesterday just before the show, and I was like, you know what? This needs to be a show topic. So let me put this up. There's this right-wing radio preacher gentleman. I'm using the term gentleman in its broadest possible form. And unfortunately, I don't think you guys will be able to hear this video. I've fixed many things on that part I haven't gotten to, unless you turn on the sound. But this Christian host has said that to avoid smart women, since you have to consider their sexual needs. That's not all he says. He goes on about himself. So I'm going to let you guys check out what this gentleman has to say. Again, gentleman, loosely applied. Here we go.
why a man would marry a woman today, especially an educated. I don't know why a man would marry a woman today, especially an educated woman, whether with the Bible or without the Bible, educated with secular education, right? Because women don't cook, they don't iron, they don't sew, they don't want to.
Now, I just want to point out, he says iron. It sounds like he said earn, but to clarify, he said iron. And there's a difference because they don't actually expect a woman to earn. I'm just saying, but he does expect her to iron.
Want to stay home and take care of the children. They don't want to make a meal. They don't want to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. They are the vice president of the man. They watch over his children, his home. They make sure everything runs well while he's away providing. And when you get home, the vice president report to the president what happens. And if he needs to discipline the children or whatever, he would take care of it. But educated women, whether they're educated with the word, in the beginning that was the word, or secular, they don't make for good wives. It's like when you get with a woman now and you happen to marry her, it's just for sex only. And if she's educated, even the sex is boring. Because you got to be, are you okay? Is this movement right? Am I working too fast here or too slow? You got to talk them through it, you know?
Yeah, so apparently, I mean, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Did you ever, is that a problem you ever had? Are you intimidated by women, by smart women?
Just by a show of hands here between the three of us, who here feels sorry for this guy's wife?
Oh,
yeah, I have one thing to say to what I just heard is beta. If y'all don't know Jesse Lee Peterson, did he just literally say that if she's educated, the sex is more boring?
Yes, yes. I mean, they like them dumb. And I have a poll going here in the chat as to. Can women ever find equality in Christianity? And the poll seems to be working. Streamlabs seems to be coming to the game. I just don't know if it's updating. I don't think it's updating in my little thing there. I'll have to figure that out later. Why is it not working? But it does seem to be going. So I'll look for that and find out what the results of that are later. So, but there, that is kind of the question. I thought, oh man, I really hoped. I knew there were some people out there, but who gives people like this a voice? Apparently, he's got a voice. He's been doing this a while.
Oh yeah, he's got a little cult following too. It's kind of crazy.
Well, I just want to answer the question about can women find, at least in my humble opinion, can women find equality within Christianity? And that's only if the Christians in question don't take their Christianity seriously.
I guess that's a good point.
Yeah, well, and I think that's been like kind of the back and forth I've had on my channel with several Christians, and because I often say, the Matt Powells of the world actually read their Bible, and you want the progressive Christians to win out with this narrative that they're putting forward, but again, their narrative actually goes against the Bible, so it's an uphill battle for them.
Yeah.
And I think anyone acquainted with the Bible would say that the vice president and president model isn't really what the Bible talks about. It's much more of a primitive, feudalistic system between God and his follower and his male followers to their wives or property, or however you want to frame it in a biblical sense. It isn't this kind of president and vice president. It's much more king vassal kind of relationship.
Yeah, if you look into like really deeply fundamental evangelicals at the Quiverful movement, they had this patriarchy and they call it the umbrella, and you have Jesus, you have the man, and then the woman is down here, and the man is the Jesus of the household, and that's the patriarchy. And I know that Jesse Lee Peterson believes in that patriarchy. So what I believe he's doing here is he's trying to word it in a way that doesn't tell women exactly the truth. It's basically, oh, you're vice president, you're in charge too, and when in reality, under this patriarchy that the Bible spells out, the woman is not in charge. She's subject to the man.
Absolutely. Well, at first, and this is something you and I both went over whenever we did our, for those who don't know, the Rage and I did individual video series about the beginning of the Genesis, the early books of Genesis. And in those early books, it starts out with her as a helper. And then, but I mean, she's not equal to, she's a helper before, whenever she's first created. Mm-hmm. And then she falls to transgression and she becomes, there's a term, not slave necessarily, but a servant. She's more of a servant than a helper. Serf. Yeah. Sure. But I mean, the Bible specifically gives her this title role after, at first she was a helper, and then she went completely to, because that wasn't good enough, she went to be completely subjugated by her man. Yeah. Well, and we see that today.
And that original Bible paints the misogyny moving, or that original story in the Bible paints the misogyny moving forward in the Bible. So like, Eve is supposedly the one that took the apple and committed that first sin, but Adam's right there, and Adam's not telling her to stop, but right. Eve is the one that's punished, and you're right, she's made into a servant of the man, and she's also punished with birth pains. So when she gives birth, it's some of the most pain you can feel now, and it's all because, silly woman couldn't follow orders, basically.
Right. Well, also, there's not just that the example set by Eve is used against women later on in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Later on in the Bible, you don't even have to go to modern times to find examples. Later in the Bible, they refer back to the books of Genesis and go look at what Eve did. There's that part in the Bible where I will not allow a woman to teach or to be over a man. First Timothy 22, I think. 1 Timothy 23 says, for it was Eve who was deceived. This is Eve's fault that women are being oppressed now at this point. It's Eve's fault. They say it right there in the Bible. And that's one of the things that I always thought was, look at the difference. Eve didn't obey or disobeyed or whatever. She was convinced by however that all is. It's a trap. That all went down, and all she did was eat an apple. The apple, figuratively speaking, of course, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, then she and all women who follow her get this. The pains of childbirth and menstruation and have to be subject to her man or whatever it actually, I don't remember specifically, but one of the things her fall incurs is that she's supposed to be subject to her husband. She gets all these things, all this from eating an apple. And then her son, Cain, kills Abel because God didn't give Cain enough love. And Cain gets a slap on the wrist. He doesn't have to work the field anymore. He's a wandering poet. You know what I mean? He gets to live a long life. Actually, one of the rewards in heaven in the Old Testament was a long life. And after Cain did this to Abel, and God says, go from here, Cain's like, well, people will kill me, because, there are people, apparently. Right. Anyway, people will kill me, and God says, well, I'll mark you so they don't kill you. So he gets to live a long, fruitful life, while God had actually cursed working the ground. Mm-hmm. So he was no longer able to work the ground, or he'd cursed working the ground to make it hard specifically. And now Cain was no longer able to work the ground. I think, is that right? Or did I have it? Yeah. Cain was no longer able to work the ground. Abel was the one who grew the fruit, the meat. Cain worked the land. So Cain was no longer able to work the ground. So he no longer had to do the shit job. Right. So
what you're trying to say is that Cain got a pretty good deal out of this. He didn't have to have intercourse with his mom. And that's a pretty big perk right there.
Maybe.
Depends on how hot his mom was. You never know. And he either knocked boots with his mom, or his mom and dad had other daughters that had daughters that we didn't know about. And then there would still be incest, because now he's knocking boots with his sister. Either way, there's some family love going on there.
Well, yeah, and I have Christians attacking me right now. Why do you take this literally? Why do you take this literally? I'm like, I don't take it literally. I don't believe in it. You take it literally, and you prove it the very moment that you come forward and you talk about Adam and Eve and this original sin and all of this. You're the ones that believe this stuff. So like, they get upset with me because I just tell people what the Bible says, but they're the ones that are literally taking this literally, and it informs them for the people that they are. So now, even they could love their wives with all of their hearts, but there's something inside of them coming from their religion telling them, hey, I'm better than her and she serves me, and that's just wrong. It's one of the things that I find in marriage that I just didn't really want a part of, and have never been married and never wanted to.
You have to ask yourself whether or not you can love a person in a way like in a feudalistic relationship, as if you own them, as if you have sovereignty over them. Is love differently when you're in that kind of sovereign feudalistic relationship as against to being in a relationship of equals? Because they seem to be two different categories.
Yeah, I don't think it can be love if you're not if you don't love her enough to see her as your equal, then that's not love to me. And it seems like it's more ownership and domination, and those are different feelings.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good point. So far in our poll, we have got the poll. I got some things working, some things aren't working. But so far in our poll, we've got 5 votes to no votes in the question of, can women ever find equality in Christianity? What do you guys are you familiar? What is the closest women have gotten? Because I remember there were some churches that is it the Unitarian Church? Well, then it isn't really Christianity, I guess.
Well, there are different flavors of Unitarianism. There are Unitarian churches that are close to Protestantism, like a flavor of Protestantism, and then there are just pantheistic, if I'm using the term correctly, versions of the Unitarian Church. Well, you'll go in and you might be hearing songs about the Creator and not really getting into Jesus any more than you would get into Osiris, for an example. So there are different flavors of Unitarian churches.
Yeah, and I would say, like, here in the modern era, there have been opportunities for some element of equality, I would say, for women when it comes to the Christian church. Now you can have the Paula Whites of the world, and women are leading their own ministries. But at the same time, even with Paula White, you have people saying, "Oh, you're a woman." So she's taken a little more seriously now that she's Trump's preacher or whatever she is. And Paula White should never be taken seriously by anybody. But it's just using it as an example that wouldn't have happened before. But still, even the powerhouses in Christianity would look at her and say, "Oh, you're a woman, so you're not quite, where we are."
So here's a question. Let's say that the evangelicals take power in this country and America becomes this kind of theocracy. Would we still have female ministers?
No. Yeah, if the National Prayer Breakfast takes over, if the family takes over and the theocracy comes in, oh no, yeah, things will be. I mean, have y'all ever seen The Handmaid's Tale?
Right. Yeah. That would be a step backwards for women, for sure. Absolutely.
Definitely. I totally agree.
But some of them, I think, I know this is going to sound, it's so weird to hear somebody vote against their own interest or whatever, but there are some women out there who actually welcome this.
Oh yeah.
Who welcome the lash, if you will, who welcome, I've seen religious people say that women don't deserve the right to vote. It doesn't take long. Look up, if you don't believe me, just look up on the internet. You'll find some woman somewhere saying women don't deserve the right to vote.
Lori,
things like that, I think, will happen.
The transformed wife promotes this. I have Christians attacking me. Oh, you're so mean to Girl Defined and MMA Jenkins. They promote this purity culture lifestyle that says basically, we as women, we're only good to be wives. So, you better say it, I mean, like, and then I'm the bad guy for fighting against this misogyny or this culture that tells women that they are less than, or they need to be this, they have to be this and not that. I'm the bad guy for that. No, Christians, that you literally live in a patriarchy. You need to understand this is the modern world and women have freedom now.
It's difficult, I think, for a person who has lived under domination to seek out freedom in some situations. I think there's a Chekhov quote that he was writing about coming out of Siberia from a camp, and saying that every day I wake up, I squeeze the slave out of myself. And so, if you've grown up in domination, you've come to like domination, and fighting against it is like this intrapsychic kind of conflict you got to wage. Like Chekhov said, every day. You got to squeeze a bit of that slave out of yourself, that slave that was put in you by other people. Yeah, it's a struggle.
Epileptic Skeptic says her dad, when she was a kid, told him she'd never get married because of the sexism in Christianity. And I could see a lot of women seeing that, especially if you're in a small area where everybody's Christian, small town, all the, you know what I mean? I could see a woman putting off getting married because of that, for those reasons. Also, P. Mars says, good morning, P. Mars, by the way, says, the gospel in the first church were never hostile to women, nor treated them as minors. When Christianity became a power or authority, this worked against women. I would like to mention, though, that I had actually previously mentioned the scriptures earlier where Paul, I believe, or was it Peter? Peter, it's a 1 Timothy 22, where they're telling women they don't have authority over men, putting down women right there.
Yes, and you know, some of the texts are apocryphal. You know, they're not written by the people that they're said that they're.
Oh no, none of them are.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
I just don't know who it's supposed to be. Is this written? I know it's the First Timothy. It's not about Timothy. It's about either Peter or Paul. I think is it Paul or Peter? I don't remember which one of them it is that the book. Of course, I know none of them wrote that book.
Yeah. Well, so there are definitely some verses in the New Testament that are against uppity vaginas, or how the modern day, evangelicals would consider to be uppity vaginas, and about women, not being able to preach in churches. And like you were saying, Chris.
Yeah, well, there's very specific passages referring to women not holding authority over men, not preaching the gospel, to be quiet during sermons in church. If they have a question of their preacher, they're supposed to ask their husband. The husband can then go to the preacher and ask the question. And so yeah, I mean, it's funny that because P Mars is in the side chat, and I warned everybody, watch out, mods. He is known for dropping the N-word in side chats, but he is one of these guys that is literally one of the most misogynistic people I have ever met. And he's going to be in there. Oh, the early church didn't have a problem with women. Dude, have you even read your Bible? Come on. I mean, Now I'm saying that I hope the progressive narrative wins, and I hope women find more equality in church and gay people find equality in church. But the Bible says otherwise. So you're going to have to combat against that.
Well, the reason why Christianity would reform isn't because of Christianity. It would be because of secular forces acting upon Christianity.
Yeah, pressures from the outside on Christianity itself.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing that's gotten us where we are today.
True.
Especially things for like women. Whenever I meet a woman who refuses to vote or something like that, it's really hard on my brain. After all the women who had to fight against the church and against men and all the things to get the rights that they got and to flaunt them, and then to see a woman intentionally want to subject herself and her daughters to the lash of Christianity, just kind of.
Well, and I don't think people understand, like, without social movements, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have today. We wouldn't be able to be here and have these conversations we're having today without the labor movement, without the civil rights movement, without the women burning their bras in the 60s and demanding the ability to vote. They still would not be as equal as the white man in this country if it weren't for those social movements, which is why social movements are so important, because they do provide pressures from the outside on these ancient institutions that have a chokehold on societies. And it's why they're so vital. And it's why we're able to sit here and have this discussion today, right? Basically.
Yeah. Right. I want to speak to what Chris was saying, is that when I encounter this kind of slave mentality, I have a visceral reaction to it. It is a mixture of sadness and anger. And because I'm a dude, it typically comes out in an experiential way as anger. But I have a visceral reaction to it whenever I encounter it.
Oh, me too. Like when I read The Transformed Wife, or when I see some of the things that Girl Defined talk about in regards to being a woman, it's like, I have a very visceral reaction to it. And then I make videos that have very visceral reactions to it. And people are like, oh, you're going crazy. And I'm like, well, I should go crazy. I mean, we live in a modern world, and women, I find it, do you, boo, but at the same time, you're promoting to other women to give up their freedoms or their individuality. And I have to stand against that.
Right. Yeah. This is one of my old chestnuts, one of my favorite things to to rage about, to go ranty Chris on, is that, well, you are speaking out against oppression, and yet you're the bad guy. You have to speak gently. You have to speak quietly. You have to, and yet the oppressor is over there speaking out these words of oppression and guiding other people and misleading other people and doing whatever they're doing openly, but you're the bad guy because you speak out. You're the rage. Yep. You're disrespectful. And I think that's a bunch of shit. Oftentimes, we as atheists are known for being the bad guys, for being the angry atheist or whatever. Okay, all right. So wait. You burned us, you killed us, you haunted us, we live in fear, you've killed our women, you've done all these horrible things to yourselves, to each other, all the time. And we're the bad guys for stepping up and going, wait, you shouldn't do that. I don't give a damn that it's part of your religion. Your religion is bullshit if it believes you should do that. And we're the bad guys. YouTube moderator who watches my show every day and who has to go back and watch it, there you go. Because we're the bad guys. We speak out against these things, and I make a video about Christians who let their children starve to death, and I'm the bad guy.
Well, I have to say this: when you choose to be on the tip of the sword, and the tip of the spear, in terms of a societal movement, whether you're BLM or being out of the closet atheist on YouTube, and those are different categories, and I understand that too. Yeah. But you are gonna just lose a majority of people. You're gonna lose a majority of the population because you have chosen to be a little bit ahead of the curve and try to break new ground.
That's true.
Oh yeah, you gotta own it.
It is actually a niche. You're carving out a niche. It's specific, and then so let's take that and let's set that aside. You've got a niche now. That's actually a niche. Now let's go watch those videos about how to create a successful YouTube channel. One of the very first things they will do is tell you. Find a niche.
Yeah.
Find a niche that's good. All right, so we're a small niche. We're still into the tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Mr. Atheist has got 300,000 subscribers. I mean, there's plenty of people out there who believe and watch what we do.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rage, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick, that's the mistake I made with my first channel is I try to have this very broad spectrum. I'm gonna talk about everything. Everybody that came to my channel is like, dude, you need to find a niche. Like, and that's why I made the Raging Atheist. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna focus on atheism. I'm not gonna, so yeah, what you're saying is exactly true.
I have this naive view, and maybe it's an old guy view, and it has to do with me coming from a comedy background, is that I am just going to be who I am every freaking second I'm on YouTube, when I'm performing, or actually in my life, because that's what comedians do. We don't try to be other people. We don't actually try to please exactly a whole lot of people. What we try to be is ourselves and somehow resonate with other individuals. And so when I'm here, that's what I try to do. Am I trying to find a niche? Maybe I'm just trying to be who I am, and that's probably why I'm not very successful.
Well, I do the same thing. And I think I do think that that's why my growth is, it's crawled over the last 3 years. It's been really slow, but I continue to just slowly grow. And it's because I am trying to be myself. I'm not trying to put on a show. I'm not, I talk about myself freely.
Videos. You are definitely drilling down into who you are in the world, and it's very entertaining.
No, I appreciate it. But yeah, I think you're right, though. I think that, it does kind of slow you down a little bit if you're not willing to play that character or go along to get along, and you just want to be yourself. Then that it does kind of slow you down, at least here in the social media realm.
There's a couple of points from the chat here that are being made. Phil Lister says it's interesting that most extremist religious sects rely upon female subservience in some way or other, and I don't know one that doesn't. Anybody? Well, the more fundamental they become, the more oppressive they become to women. Is that not true in every religion?
I believe so, and I think that, I mean, it's, I'm gonna get in trouble with some guys here, but I think it's very easy for men to realize that women are more analytical. They're calmer. They can probably make some better rational decisions sometimes. So I think that we've been able to recognize that and created a system to keep them down, to keep them out of power, because we don't want that competition for ourselves. At least we didn't back then. And that's, I think, the good thing about modern society is now there is that ability for them to compete with us And I think it's driving an element of society insane because they're actually winning in those competitions.
I think there's no denying the fact that as you get into more fundamentalist religions, you leave the forebrain and return to the primitive primate brain. You have a rigid social hierarchy, sexual dimorphism, where the men are bigger than the women. Like in other primate species or some primate species, there is more domination of the males on the women, on the females, and all of our base instincts become amplified.
Right. Casey Atheist and Randy points out boys that are taught that they can't control themselves can easily end up as men who don't control themselves. And that's kind of a dynamic that we have going on. And it had to be pointed out to me that it's more about young lady, go put on respectable clothes than it is about young man, you need to be respectful to women. Doesn't matter what she's wearing. And we didn't get I didn't get any of that when I was a kid. It was, matter of fact, it was like, if she goes out wearing that and you can see this or that, then she deserves the catcall. And that's kind of where I came from. I had to be taught as an adult later on going, that's not right.
Yeah.
I think that's part of our Christian morality that's laid onto us by Christianity.
Yeah, well, I've always called it kind of like latent Christianity. Even after you lose the faith, you have these things that kind of linger. But I think we need to change male culture, and I've talked about this quite a bit. Like when if your children are in the 3rd or 4th grade, and your little girl comes home and she's talking about the boy that's picking on her, don't tell her that means that he likes her. I mean, we shouldn't be promoting these things, or it's okay for this little boy to be acting this way. Parents, you need to teach your male children respect of women instead of kind of just dismissing what happens as they're coming up. That's boys. That boys will be boys. I hate that. I hate that term.
I have 2 teenagers. One is a boy who's out of high school right now, and one is a girl who's in sophomore year. And from the earliest of ages, I've always told them that we're not in the poo business. We don't dish out poo, and we don't take poo. We are just not in the business of causing trouble or taking trouble from other people. And that means that you do certain things at certain times, and you don't take stuff when it comes to your doorway. And when you see something, you should be acting on something too when it happens to somebody else.
Here's an excellent question from the chat. How can Rage give any advice on morality? I'm believing this is coming from a Christian, right?
Oh, yeah. P. Mars loves me. He's got a crush.
Yeah. Okay, so how can any Christian looking at the 2,000 years of murder, death, kill put on by Christianity, how can any Christian even laughably claim to be an authority on morality? Even laughably. And then when you go read the books of the Christian, they like to get rid of the Old Testament, but man, it's there. That's the New Testament is the face and flesh of your God. The Old Testament is the mind. It's what God thinks and what he does. And he's a murderous, horrible bastard. It's just horrible. There's if you're a Christian, you have no right to even judge the Rage on what is or what is not morality. You have no sense of morality. It's objectively based on a monster from a book written 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, P. Mars is here because he's hanging with the atheists this morning because he's been kicked out of the Christian community for being a heretic. So I'm sorry, P. Mars, that your fellow Christians hate you.
Well, you're popular in all circles.
He follows me around.
It's not surprising that the Rage would bring the hate too.
I've definitely got my trolls. So I'm like, this is the first time they figured out that I'm here. So, but I've been talking about on my channel more. So that's probably why they're coming to show their love. What's up, P. Mars?
That's good.
You got a fan base. Well, yeah, that's part of the deal. We spread them back and forth. At least you got your followers. I haven't had, I haven't done any. I don't do normally the response videos like you do and Mr. Atheist does. And you mentioned things like Girl Defined. I don't even think about them. And then we're just stumbling upon this Christian oppression of women. You mentioned Girl Defined. I study back in my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing. I could actually see doing response videos to their stuff. But now, of course, now Jimmy Snow is all over that. He's got them covered. But man, I could see why you would want to point out the crazy that's going on there.
I built my channel off of Girl Defined. My first 1,000 subs came because I was talking smack about those two girls. And now the Christian argument is, oh, you're the misogynist because you're picking on Girl Defined. And I'm like, no, I'm actually speaking and trying to help women by speaking out against this narrative that Girl Defined and MMA Jenkins and these people, this purity culture that would tell women, you need to dress head to toe. Don't be sexy because, men can't control themselves and it'd be your fault if they rape you. I fight against that. Yet I'm the misogynist.
Very true. Hey, God equals the square root of. I've got a question. He asks, 1 Timothy 12 says, I suffer not a woman to teach. See, I don't know that he must have missed that we talked about that already in the show, that 1 Timothy 12 does, in fact, tell a woman to be subservient, not to teach a man in church or whatever. We were talking about that is, in fact, laid upon women because of Eve and what happened in the first chapter of the Bible. So, first chapters of the Bible. So if you'll go look, what is the very next scripture in your little thing there, God equals, go look up 12, 16, or 17. What does it say after that? And you'll see that it blames Eve for the transgression. So thank you. We were saying about the thing. I just got distracted. I saw that you just got here. I just wanted to let you know we were talking about that already. So, and we covered it. It's awesome. Yeah. Good stuff. Well,
and unfortunately, Christians,
that's what yes.
They don't research at least the good apologetics for that, because there are very good apologetics for that verse. And those apologetics would work to promote inequality for women, saying, hey, those verses aren't talking to all women, but in the situation in the city, the prostitutes of the city were going to whatever her name, the Oracle of Delphi or whatever her name was, and she was telling them to speak out against this religion. So they were coming into the churches, they were raising hell basically, and that's why that passage is there. But unfortunately, even if that apologetic's true, if that story is 100% true, Christians don't know it. They only know the Eve story.
Yeah, because it says so directly. This is why. Yep. Whenever you ask, any Christian who goes, oh, well, the reason why is because the haughty women were doing this thing. Well, actually, literally, the Bible really tells you right here, this is why. You can make apologetics for all you want. It tells you right here. Just saying, right there. The very next scripture, the one that they leave out.
You can make apologetics for Dr. Doom, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and that is the issue with apologetics, is they're apologetics, so they're not really part of Scripture. They're just justifications for why Scripture says the things that they say.
Yeah.
So P. Mars says, since man is made in God's image. I don't get that as an excuse.
I'd like to see the peer-reviewed study for that.
He's a bless your heart Christian. You just look at P. Mars and you're like, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
Yeah. Gods are made in man's image. Very good. Gods equal the square root of -1. Very good. So do you guys, what I'm getting from this video we watched and the comments that this gentleman posted earlier, for those of you who didn't catch it earlier, there's this gentleman who claims that smart women, you're not supposed to don't have sex with smart women, don't marry smart women. The sex with smart women and educated women, whether they're women of the Lord or not, doesn't matter. And he specifically says that it's educated. If they're educated women, it's not worth it.
I mean, so I had a psychology professor when I was, in college, and I was in experimental psychology course, and he said, be careful of any study that has less than 20 participants, the N less than 20. So I'm going to share something here. My sexual partner number is less than 20. So I feel as if I cannot generalize my experience to the general population. That being said, I have found no correlation whatsoever between the educational level of the person that I'm with their ability to be a beast in the sheets, so to speak. That's me.
Okay. Yeah, I've never really understood a correlation between, all right, so a woman gets smarter, she somehow loses her natural instinct to have sex with a man or to have sex with whoever she's going to be having sex with. I think that that's something that probably doesn't just go away because you read some books.
or being educated somehow gives her desires or feelings that you now have to take care of that you didn't have to take care of had she not been educated. So do uneducated women not have the same sexual stimulus as?
Well, I think it's the same reason why governments want to keep their populations dumbed down. Like if you don't have an education, you don't really have the ability to rationalize yourself out of the domination that they're going to place you under.
Well, I think in this particular case, he seems intimidated. He's intimidated by a smart woman.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch the video, and I don't normally like to make fun of these kind of things, but you watch the video, his ability to speak English declines as you're watching the video. And I'm not making fun of Ebonics or none of that. I have no problem with those sort of things. Go watch the video again.
I almost think Jesse Lee Peterson does it on purpose.
He does. I was going to say that, Rage. I was going to say, I have noted that people dumb down their language, particularly hate AM radio people, dumb down their language for their audience.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he understands his audience. So his audience are going to be very basic, probably not too much education. Hardcore Bible thumping believers and they're Trumpers. That's his audience. So that's who he's speaking to. And he's got to be smarter than he's letting off, or he wouldn't be as popular as he is. He wouldn't be as business savvy as he is, but he does dumb himself down because he understands his audience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let me see if do I still have the article here somewhere? No, I think I let it go. Bad Chris.
And the thing about this is it's not just the fundamentals that think this way about women. So, the self-proclaimed, more progressive Christian apologists right now on YouTube, like Smokey Saint, who I'm a progressive Christian, just spent 2.5 hours doing a video on Jen Aldridge because she wears tank tops. She expresses her opinion. She's not married and all of these things. I went so far as to call her a whore. So even these progressive Christians have this misogyny just latent inside of them and just waiting to spill out because their Bible says these things.
Yeah. I'm going to put this poll up. It's not registering here. I'll put it up on another one there. I just want to show people we're doing this poll. Let me just do it this way again. I'm sorry. Pardon me for my... There we go. We're doing this poll. Can women ever find equality in Christianity? We actually have a Christian in the chat, I believe, of a fashion. So
he's talking about his beauty now. He's like, I'm so beautiful.
Yeah, currently 6 votes. We have 6 votes to say no. Women will never find equality. Now's your opportunity. Do you, P. Mars, as a Christian, believe women will ever find equality in Christianity? I'm just asking the question. So just go ahead and go vote. Type up, vote and do your thing. Vote. Let us know what you think.
And I think that they will find equality. Now, Christianity doesn't want them to, but I mean, they're already really close now in modern society, and I think it drives Christianity insane.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the questions I asked at the beginning. Which Christian sect gives women the most rights? I mean, there are a lot of them out there.
Well,
that actually do. Evangelical women do all the time. But they're all supposed to.
Christian Scientists were founded by a woman, Mary Baker Eddy, and very liberal kind of faith, except when you consider that they don't believe in medication. But that's a whole other issue, I think. Though it's a serious issue. So coming from the founder being a woman, from what I understand of the faith, that they are pretty pro equal rights. I could be wrong. It could be my lack of knowledge about the church, though. I've toured the Mother Church a number of times and somewhat acquainted with their teachings.
Which one was that? So I can look it up later. Church of
Christian Scientists.
Yeah, Christian Scientists. And there do seem to be more and more universalist churches popping up. We've got churches on every corner here in America. So if you're not here in America, that's the thing here. And there's more and more of these churches popping up that do seem to be more focused on the progressive message, on equality, allowing women to have equal rights, allowing gays in to practice the service. I applaud that movement. I hope it continues. But it's still a vast minority of Christianity in this country.
I'll say this is that I think, just like rock and roll bands, those faiths that have been founded by men, those cults that have been founded by men, are just ways of getting laid.
Well,
could be.
Getting laid with music or getting laid with scripture. It just seems to be a big scam in certain ways.
Yeah, it kind of it's definitely a way to control and manage women, to keep them under your foot no matter what. Now, I want to go look at the Christian Scientists and see how they do it. But I mean, throughout the Old Testament, I mean, we don't have to. You can't shake a stick without hitting misogyny in the Old Testament. You just can't. It's all over the place.
Sure.
The New Testament, I really need to go through the New Testament. It's been a while since I've been through the New Testament, so I don't really know how much misogyny is in there.
So Chris, I'm going to tee you up on this one.
Awesome.
Didn't Abraham have a sex slave?
Mm-hmm.
And
Hagar, absolutely.
Was it?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just teed you up for the spike. Spike the ball.
No, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, he also married his own sister, and there was lots of, this is the father of the Abrahamic religions. But now, what about Lot and his daughters?
Oh,
I mean, yeah. Okay, I don't want to get too distracted because thank you, Andy, for that. Andy's like, bait. And I'm like, in the Old Testament, that's what I said, that you can't swing a dead cat without hitting misogyny in the Old Testament. But in the New Testament, I don't know so much. And a lot of these religious people will go, oh, the Old Testament doesn't count. Of course, till it counts on something they want to enforce.
Well, yeah, and I think that Christians would tell you that the new covenant has a new covenant for women as well, and the New Testament does include more rights for them. But I mean, if you actually look at Jesus and the followers, the women had to stay in the back. They weren't part of the major discussions. There wasn't a single woman apostle, although some would argue that maybe Mary Magdalene had been an apostle. But the women were still in the back. They weren't up there with the men.
It's like that time I went to a mosque, and there was just women in the back behind a screen. And I'm like, so equal rights here? That's what I was thinking in my head. And when you think about Jesus and the 12 disciples, none of them were women. Now, you could say to yourself, well, it was a patriarchal culture and you couldn't have women being disciples back then. It's like, well, isn't Jesus the Son of God? Couldn't he bend or change rules?
He came to change everything.
Right, but yet not one woman in his crew of 12.
Well, he didn't bar slavery either.
He didn't, but no, definitely not.
So what was it he was changing? He was changing the fact that you don't have to kill any valuable property. You don't have to destroy any more valuable property anymore. You don't have to kill any more goats. You don't have to kill any more sheep, lambs, chickens. You don't have to do them over your head anymore. None of that anymore. Jesus died to replace all those animals, and you can save those profits for yourself.
Yeah, and that's all Jesus really did. Is he changed Yahweh from a blood god to a prayer god. So instead of blood keeping Yahweh alive, you now have prayer.
Yeah. So no doubt. I mean, that's kind of, and they can argue all they want about it being peace and love and mercy and kindness, but man, there's none of that, especially in the Old Testament. And there's not. I don't believe does Jesus anywhere in the New Testament ever at all tell you he loves you? I don't think he does. I don't think he ever says it. Not once. There's a meme, actually, in fact, about it. Not once in the Bible does Jesus say he loves you. Now, in the song,
I can't remember.
But then, of course, I've always said
Jesus, just like his dad, just wants obedience, right? I mean, even if he does say he loves you, he says that in that feudalistic way, in which I will care for you as long as you do what I tell you to. Otherwise, you will be punished, and that's not love. That is not love where I come from.
And that I think that's the dominant theme of the New Testament is slavery. You know, master and slave. God is master, you're a slave, and that's the whole narrative of the New Testament. So when you say that Jesus didn't condemn slavery, he not only did he not condemn it, he embraced it and said, "This is our religion now."
Yeah.
Yes, and man is a slave to God, and woman is a slave to man.
Yep.
Shit goes
works out
downhill.
there. Yeah, see, our masters are the fake things we made up. Their masters is us.
And we actually use the fake things we made up to control them, or at least to keep them from knowing that the things they possess, like their boobies, control us.
Yeah.
It's very complicated.
That's so true. That's so true. Just pop out a boobie, ladies, and I'm like my mind is jello. I'm like, I'm not thinking straight. So I mean, yeah, they got that power.
Yeah, I know. My IQ drops instantly.
Yeah,
it's one of those deals. Are these men intimidated by smart women, Christian men, non-Christian women? Go ahead.
You just have to ask intelligent women who are single and trying to date on any forum, right? On OkCupid or any online forum or in real life, and they will say things like they have to dumb themselves down just to get attention from men a lot of the time. It is a difficult road. In fact, when I was dating, I'm in a relationship now and have been for the last almost 2 years. I always like to ask women about what their experiences have been like. And, you just hear the stories and it's crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I've been told that because I'm perpetually single. I'm always mingling, talking, and I've been told that by several women that I've dated that they don't know how to talk to me because they're so used to just unintelligent conversation that when the first couple times when they actually went out with me and I'm trying to have a really sophisticated conversation, they didn't know if they should even respond or if they should just keep playing stupid. And so I just find that amazing that women, in order to find a mate, a lot of women have to feel like, hey, I can't show how intelligent I am.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think so from what I'm hearing, Rage, is that there are instances when you are being intelligent on the first date that creates some barriers at times.
Oh yeah. It'll put actually more ice up. So you're trying to break the ice on the first date. I found in my experience that it actually puts more ice up, and then I have to dumb myself down to get them comfortable to really get on an equal playing field. So then we can start having real conversation.
Fascinating. That is fascinating.
Yeah, I found it fascinating too. Yeah, I'm like, this is kind of weird.
As a person who has performed, it's like you're going into a new room. You don't know what the room is like, what the people are like, what the demographics are like. And so you're kind of testing out the waters for the first couple of minutes, trying to see what lands, what works and what doesn't work. And then you kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I'm one of those who I actually myself specifically prefer intelligent women.
Me too.
There's this common trope, and we can blame the Christians for it, but it's a common trope. The ditzy female, how cute, she's got the pigtails, that's all cute and sexualized and all that. But to be honest, I appreciate a decent conversation, and sex is one thing. But man, there's a lot of life that goes on that doesn't have anything to do with sex. And to find somebody who's a moron and choose, pardon the expression, somebody of lesser intellect and choose to spend time with that person simply because they arouse you sexually wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that would be a very happy life to me. Yeah, you might enjoy certain moments, but it seems like, like for me, like I want to be able to talk books. I want to talk politics. I want to talk the things that I'm interested in talking about. And I'm not going to, if you're going to just be with somebody for their looks or to have sex with them, then it seems like the rest of your day would kind of be either boring or just chaos.
Yeah, no, straight up. The woman that I'm with right now and have been, happily, is like, she makes me a funnier person. And she wouldn't be able to do that if she was an idiot, to tell you the truth. Not with my brand of comedy. She wouldn't be able, and I would just be a sad person. That's what it would be.
Yeah, and I mean, and not to say, because I often feel like women feel like, we're putting them down if they're not intelligent when we have these conversations. And I'm like, no, not at all. But I think that for my preference, I don't want somebody that I can just run over or is going to bend to my will. I don't want friends like that. And I definitely don't want a lover like that. I want somebody that's going to challenge me and be equal with me and not any of that other stuff. So, that's where I stand on it. But at the same time, I'm not trying to talk down. If you don't have the education, that's fine too. If you want to be a house mom, that's fine too. Do you? Yeah. But don't promote that like that's what all women should be doing, because women should be able to do what they want to do with their lives.
Absolutely. I got a good point here by Microraptor. I think I actually bumped on it a second ago. Microraptor says, I think it would be unfair to blame only Christians for that stereotype. I think it's general in society. We do have a lot of, it's general in society because of Christianity, because of Islam, because of Judaism. It's because of Hinduism. It's women throughout these major throughout these major religions have been oppressed or seen as lesser beings in one fashion or another, or as something to be owned, or like candy that you got to protect from everything. You know what I mean? They're not seen as equal in these major religions, and that clearly, obviously, over thousands of years has bled into integral parts of our cultures throughout the world. And I agree, therefore we cannot blame Christianity. The reason why we're talking specifically about Christianity is because there was a right-wing Christian blogger or a radio host who came out yesterday and said that you should not have sex or don't marry educated women, and that educated and intelligent women are bad in bed for various reasons. This is what this is in response to. So yes, we do spread that blame around, but there's a reason why we're specifically talking about these.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it just common sense. You look at other countries that haven't had a reformation like Christianity has, Islamic countries, horrible rights for women. You look at India and what's going on with the Hinduism in India and women in that situation. Most Americans don't know, but I encourage, go look at India and find out what's happening to women there, and you'll be horrified. So I don't think any one of us are sitting here saying that Christianity is responsible for all the misogyny in the world, but is clearly responsible for the misogyny within Christianity.
I'll say this about Phi. I guess that's his name. He his statement is, but does culture reflect religion, or does religion reflect culture? I'll say this is that religion makes culture crappier. Once again, it is an accelerant to all the bad things. It's patriarchy in terms of authoritarianism. Everything it is not helping.
Yep, I agree with that.
And that's what that Microraptor says. Each religion is responsible for their own bigotry. Good point. That's a great point. It's just the problem is that they all got it of various degrees. Well, now we're talking. That says bigotry. We're talking misogyny. That's what I read in my head. I'm talking misogyny. We can get to bigotry specifically later, but in this particular case, misogyny. Yeah, they all got it. Why do all? What is it? And then again, the question of, does culture reflect religion? You have culture, and then like you called it an accelerant. Religion is then applied over the culture, and then makes the culture either bad or good based on where the religion starts, or the point of the religion. Of course, obviously, as we've discussed, it doesn't take much of a conversation to go to the fact that the more fundamentalist a religion is, the more likely it is to be base and dangerous and be against what we call civil community in our society.
Well, and the religious understand that, Chris. That's why they have to attack secular humanism and say that it's secular humanism that's taking the good out of society. It's taking the religion out of society. So the religious understand that function, that religion does kind of overwhelm culture, and if you allow any kind of secularism in to combat that religious hold on culture, then they're going to have to fight to keep it, because it's all a culture war. Everything's a culture war when it comes to religion. You're battling for the culture. The more souls you have in the seats in your church, the more power you have. So, I mean, that's the balance here, and the religious fully understand that.
Yeah, on some level, the religious fundamentalists understand that a strong state, a strong secular state, is their enemy. It's an enemy on the subcontinent. It was the enemy to the Middle Ages. That's why Catholicism was. That's why it was the Age of Faith. Was during the Dark Ages when secular culture was at its nadir, and that's why the religious fundamentalists here in this country are trying to undermine secular institutions. They want to create a failed state so that their religion will flourish.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Their religion will flourish. They will get more control. They can begin to oppress people, depress the people. That's how I see it. It's the women, it's the gays, it's the trans. It's all about finding who you can oppress or
bullies need victims.
Oh yeah, and you see it immediately every time they get power. I mean, one of the first things Trump did, signed executive orders overturning the DAPL so the oil could flow. One of the first things he did was attack gays and trans ability to be in the military. Now he's attacking trans ability to get the medical care that they need. So yeah, I mean, it's what they do. They've got to oppress. And they started immediately as soon as they get any kind of power.
Matter of fact, this is one of my old chewing points that really got me with Trump is that the very first thing, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the very first thing he did when he got in office was went after Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
That was the very first thing he did.
Damn them old people. Them old people, needing to eat. They're a danger to national security.
Exactly.
But I had an aunt who was a nurse, a head nurse back in the hospital days in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And she was all crippled up in the 90s. And she really depended on Meals on Wheels. Her and she had a friend. He wasn't a boyfriend so much. He was like 90 and all crippled up too. And they just depended so much on Meals on Wheels. Mm-hmm. And just to think that's, and look at all the money we had, right? We got this thing that's threatening the economy and they dump trillions and trillions of dollars into the economy, but they had to cut funding for Meals on Wheels.
Well, the nature of bullies
get me in trouble with the YouTube.
They specifically pick on people who are weak.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And now in this pandemic, like you need that more than ever. It's, old people are dying from coronavirus more than anybody else. They're the ones that really don't need to be going to the grocery store, and now they don't have Meal on Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how could they make it worse? Of course, in my opinion, that's a whole video about why Trump is intentionally making things as bad as he can in this country. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different. Yeah, bad day. All right, Andy, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show, brother. Do you have anything going on coming up that you want to talk about?
I have my representative from Extinction Rebellion coming on my channel, and we're going to talk about environmentalism and the movement.
Wonderful. I've got links to Andy's channel down below. If you're not subscribed, pop down there and subscribe. And to Rage's channel, I've got links to his stuff as well. Andy, I've remembered to put your link to your Twitter handle and all that below too. So I'm going to get Chris this time.
I appreciate it.
Yes. So thank you. I want to thank you. How about you, Rage? Do you have anything else going on that you want to talk about? Nick, Tank, you clubbed him like a baby harp seal last night.
Yeah. I had fun. I had fun with him. It was hilarious. I had jokes. I'm not doing anything today. I'm taking the day off. I'm going to get some cleaning done, but I'll probably start maybe releasing a little bit of what happened last night on the channel tomorrow. So if you haven't seen what happened between me and Smokey Saint last night, it'll be on the channel very, very soon.
Awesome. Cool. Wonderful. I want to wish everybody a happy weekend. I hope you stay safe. Take care. I'm going to go. I may take the weekend off instead of doing Sci-Fi Saturday and do work on other things like getting us some more 30-second commercials and building some other stuff for the thing. Because I'm looking forward to a break. I may take a break and do Sci-Fi Saturday. But over here on this channel, we will see you next week. And we're going to be doing the Daily Atheist Morning Show, and I'll have my host Andy Hall with me. He's going to be with me all week, every week from now on henceforth. And then, of course, we'll still have our wonderful daily co-hosts like The Rage and other folks. So, okay, guys, I'm off to save the world. Thank you both. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you to the Damnation, everybody in the chat. Yes, long weekend. See, today actually is my wife gets a 4-day weekend. So that's kind of like I'm eager to get the hell out, and I might not want to work tomorrow. And I'm using the making commercials as an excuse. Anyway, thank you to everybody in the Damnation. Thank you to everybody on Facebook and the people listening live on our Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast. You're all wonderful. I can't believe you guys all tuned in. You're amazing. So thank you. Take care. And we will see you at least Monday.
Life is complicated. These are trying times. There are many questions that need answering. Want to know what's going to help? Atheism. With atheism, you'll get rid of dogma, superstitions, and toxic thought patterns that are holding you back. You can drive while taking atheism, as well as use heavy machinery. In fact, drinking alcohol, fornicating, and Sunday mornings are far more enjoyable with atheism. However, there are side effects. Some evangelicals and fundamentalists will think you are possessed by the devil. But you don't have to worry, because you know the devil isn't real. Just like God. Wake up to your life. Believe in yourself. Believe in science. Atheism.
Thank you for watching the show. A special shout out to my gold level Patreon supporters, Cindy Plaza and Ian Davenport. Thank you and have a great day.